If all of us do a little, none of us have to do a lot in this country. And I feel that if more people in this country were less concerned with protecting their own whatever it is and more with connecting with one another, I think that much like sipping a good whiskey together and talking some shit, that greater understanding and empathy and comes out of those things a lot of times than simple commands to be better. So this whiskey, like any good whiskey to me, is going to bring people together. Should be bringing people together and creating an atmosphere of talk shit that'll progress us in a way that I don't think politicians and arguing.
And joining the Fred Minnick Show is someone I've been a fan of for a long time, Michael Rinder, also known as Killer Mike, best known as Killer Mike. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Fred, how are you, man? Good to see you.
It's great to see. It's great to see you. I wish this was in person.
Yeah, the world has seemed to have closed on us for us.
I know. And you were in my town a couple years ago, and I didn't get a chance to meet you, but you headlined, Run the Jewels headlined a show out here called Forecastle in Louisville.
Forecastle's dope. Yeah, and I like Louisville a lot.
It's a good town. It's a good town.
Two of the brothers who are co-producers, Wilder, Zobie, and Taco, are Louisville kids. They grew up between Louisville and New York. Their dad was a prominent lawyer in Louisville, and their mom was in New York. So a lot of connection in Louisville, and learned about good bourbon.
Well, next time you're down here, you'll have to get a special tour with me. Like, I'll take you around all the little hidden gems in our city. And one of the things I was excited to talk to you about, I was such a Frisky Dingo fan. I was a huge Frisky Dingo fan. What happened to that show? I thought that was the best thing that Adult Swim put out, especially early on.
Kill Face. Well, for those who don't know, while I was kind of in mixtape oblivion, figuring out what I was going to do next, I played a character called Kill Face on a show called Frisky Dingo. I have a relationship with Adult Swim, who also owned William Street Records, which put out the first record that LP and I did together called Rap Music. So I got asked by Matt Them, the guys at Frisky Dingo, to essentially be the arch villain of the show, which I'm a fan of villains. This villain was not a very good villain. Funny is, well, no, I wasn't Killface. I'm sorry. I was Taquil. I was Taquil. I was like oblivious rapper. I wanted to be Killface, but I was in the middle of a war between good and evil, and I oftentimes made dumb mistakes. But the show was an amazing show, and it met its end because their show Archer, I think, just blew up. These guys also did Archer, and it's kind of like Archer was like the Diana Ross of the group. It just went out. So, but it got me into voice acting more, and I'm actually doing some more cool stuff in the next couple of years. I think I'm gonna pop up some big places that people wouldn't expect. But I'm very happy about that show. I liked it a lot. It's good to know you liked it.
Well, it was, my wife and I, we still watch it. We'll play it every now and then. So it's like we'll pull it up on demand, and so it's got a special place in our family. And it's like there's like this whole element of like animation rap too. Like you can have a lot of fun and still like apply to your genre in a very creative way. That's what I love about it.
There's an account, I got to remember the name of it. I got to send you. I had posted it a few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, where it had old 80s and 90s comics rapping different. Like there's a Speed Racer Ghostface Killer, like his video. There's a Transformer one doing, I think, Sean P. There's me and L. So I think you guys will like that too. That's one of those things where you get to stay forever 12 years old.
Yeah, it definitely. And I think that's why I like Adult Swim so much is I never really grew up. I'm still 14 at heart in a lot of ways,
Yeah, who wants to grow up? Man,
right.
That's not cool. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to be an adult. Not even adults want to be adults. You got to pay bills and shit.
Yeah, bills, work, and then people telling you what to do. Even when you're the boss, somebody's telling you what to do. You
know my wife. It's good to know.
So as we do on the show, we sip a little good whiskey, and I sent you some stuff, but you also you have a prized little gem there that you showed me before we started
Yeah.
playing, and you got to tell me about this.
So this is what my grandpa called corn whiskey or corn
Mm-hmm.
liquor. People refer to it as moonshine as a commercial name. It is brewed by unknown people in unknown a place that I won't name. And I can name this man. My uncle Ross, who's now dead, had a shine. My whole youth until early adulthood life. And my grandfather, earlier in his career as being a man, he was a shine runner from Edenton, Georgia to Atlanta, Georgia. So his brother-in-law would brew the shine in Edenton. He would pick it up. I think he had an old Pontiac Tempest, maybe he told me that he had jacked up, and they get however many gallons they could squeeze in the back, whether it was 10 or 100, and he'd bring it to his cousin Shot, who owned a shot house, what people would call a shot house when you go buy liquor on Sundays, because in the South, it was just that Jesus didn't want you drinking liquor on Sundays. So you go to the shot house, which his cousin Shot owned, and he delivered between them. And interestingly enough, more of my family, I have a bio and a non-bio dad, and a lot of times people hear about my bio dad, who was a police officer for a short time when I was young. But my non-bio dad, who's a great human being, I love him just the same. His father was also a shine seller. And I remember ATF coming in our house by 1982, 83 and finding 100 gallons of moonshine in our attic. It was pretty funny.
So you've got the whiskey flowing through your veins a little bit here.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
in
yeah.
the family.
Yeah, I'm not much of a drinker, but I drink whiskey.
I love it. Well, the one that you just showed us, is that good?
Yeah, it's a good one. Friend of mine who trusts. I trust. You don't just buy shine from anybody. My grandpa would always talk about people using lead piping and things of that nature. So I tend to only get shine from people I know and trust. I mean, I have one friend from Alabama whose family is connected and brings it. I have a friend from Pine Mountain, Georgia. And of course, I still got friends and family from and around the Edenton area. So it's only about three sources I trust moonshine from, just because you never know who's brewing it. And you never know if they're
Mm-hmm.
cutting corners to brew.
Well, as someone who's had a lot of moonshine, the bad ones, man, you have a headache for like 3 days. So
Yeah,
you're
nobody wants. Yeah,
yeah, nobody wants that.
yeah, that ain't what you want. That ain't what you want. That ain't what you want. But I don't even drink this stuff until like it's holidays or I have
Okay.
friends over. Because again, I'm not the drinker. So this is one that's flavored mango. And the rumor used to be if they flavored it, it wasn't good. But then I noticed my grandpa would bring good stuff home and he flavored himself with peaches. So some people like flavor. And I got these because friends of mine who can't get it like it. So I got these for a couple friends. This is a pine. This is a pineapple one here. And this is a mango one.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, I don't dance with the shine when I got work to do. I got work to do after this. So I'm just going to stick to a traditional whiskey
We're gonna
today.
stick to the stuff that we
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
know.
You never know the
We,
yeah, you never know the proof on sale. You never know how strong it is. It's like smoking marijuana in Northern California. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh, so and then we have Uncle Nearest. I sent you
Yes,
some
I
Uncle
had it.
Nearest,
I
and
got it.
I've got now that's a barrel. You're sipping on a barrel of Uncle Nearest that I actually picked myself. So I picked this barrel, and
Oh
it
wow.
was
Okay.
so this is a very special, very very special brand, an important history to it, and you know I'll kind of give some folks some background. So
Can I tell
near
you a story first?
oh please.
All right, so here's the story. I'm going to sip some. I don't drink with many, so I'm drinking with you guys. I love you a lot. I tend to only put one or a very small ice cube in my whiskey because
Hmm.
it brightens up. It pops some of the sweetness out. So I'm not a room temperature drinker. I always just like just literally a slither of ice in there to kind of pop some of the flavor for me. But so my grandpa would tell the story about how as a kid I was holding the gallon of shine. He went in a deep curve and I slid all the way across. And he's reaching to grab me to make sure I don't fall out the door. And I looked down and told him, I got it, granddaddy. And I was just like his co-conspirator, his buddy. So he would tell me a story about a black man who was a former slave who had taught Jack Daniels to make whiskey. And your grandparents telling you stuff, you're hearing it, but you don't really realize you're next to a living, breathing library. I'm around someone who was there. I remember being fascinated with Al Capone and my grandpa telling me nobody cared about Capone. John Dillinger was the man. later when I read, Dillinger would rob banks and, burn up loan papers and stuff, I was like, oh, that's why. Like, so he was a people's hero of sorts. So I'd always heard my grandfather and I always believed him, but I didn't believe. I believed it
Mm-hmm.
could happen. I could see that grandpa. I could see, I could see the guy working and saying, hey, you should do this. But when it came out, my grandfather had been dead. I honestly just prayed that night and prayed he heard me, just like, I love you for imparting all this wisdom on me. When the story of Nearest Green came out and that photo showed who he was and this mythology that my grandfather had told me about, that I assumed was to just make me feel a part of America. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're a black kid and you learn about the American Revolution, you learn about Crispus Attucks, the first person to die on the behalf of the country. When you learn about the Civil War, you learn not just about the Union Army and the Confederates, you learn about Harriet Tubman, you learn about other blacks that were prominent, you learn about Frederick Douglass. So I figured my grandfather's trying to make sure that I knew that we were involved in this country's history and the products that came out here in every way. I didn't know how much the mythology was truth and steeped in truth. And I nearly teared up to read it because it just confirmed something for me about the dignity of Southern working class men, period, but in particular black men, because these were the men I grew up around. So this brand has become, honestly, at present time, my favorite whiskey and one of my favorite whiskeys. And it's now something, a gift that I give to people, not only because it's a fine whiskey that I happen to like better than Jack Daniels. I was never a big Jack Daniels drinker, but I appreciated if there was nothing else and we were on the road, I was just give me a bottle of Jack. But
Mm-hmm.
this I actually like, and more and beyond that, I get the chance to give it to people who I love and respect and tell them the story of it. So it's really been a great addition to my gift giving as the years passed.
Yeah, so this bottle, I sat down with Jeffrey Wright, the James Bond actor, who's an investor in this brand, and we talked about how much this bottle and this brand means to the culture and the movement, and the one thing that he brought up in that interview was he talked about like how there's an effort you know from some people in this country to say that former enslaved persons weren't necessarily Americans. And he pointed at this bottle and he's like, there ain't no way you're telling me that my family and Nearest Green, we're not Americans. So when I look at Uncle Nearest, I see a movement and an effort, to bring back forgotten persons,
Absolutely.
and Nearest Green in American whiskey history, it was probably the most forgotten person that did not get told in the stories. And this brand has come out and it's on it's like lightning. And
Yeah.
the thing of it is that they've done a really good job telling their story and bringing back the history of Nearest Green. But like you said, the whiskey's good. The
The
whiskey's good.
whiskey's good. It is a good whiskey. It is a good whiskey. It is a good whiskey. I'm definitely going to talk friskier to my wife today on the phone. But yeah, I think that it's important for us to know that regardless of race, class, religious affiliation, in this country we are truly a tapestry of a lot of different things to make what is great about this country great. And
Mm-hmm.
the presence of Nearest in proper presence, noted and indoctrinated into the history as it should be, not only brings another great whiskey to market, but it brings further possibility of inclusion on all levels from all of us. It takes, if all of us do a little, none of us have to do a lot in this country. And I feel that if more people in this country were less concerned with protecting their own whatever it is and more with connecting with one another, I think that much like sipping a good whiskey together and talking some shit, that greater understanding and empathy and comes out of those things a lot of times than simple commands to be better. So this whiskey, like any good whiskey to me, is going to bring people together. Should be bringing people together and creating an atmosphere of talk shit that'll progress us
Mm-hmm.
in a way that I don't think politicians and arguing can.
There used to be a saying in D.C., and that was like, they would they would use bourbon to quote lubricate the wheels of justice. I don't think
Yeah,
I don't think they sit down and drink together anymore. You know, it seems
they
like they're always
don't because everybody wants to eat avocado and drink spring water and talk about, which is fine. That's what I just finished doing after I left the gym. But there's a time for whiskey. I will say on a local level, I know there are a lot of cigar and whiskey bars in Atlanta where a lot of politics still happen. So hopefully they'll bring that back in DC. We can
yeah.
get some across the
I
aisle
mean,
cooperation.
we do need that. We do need some our leaders to sit down and have a conversation. I look at you, Mike, and I see you as a leader. I see you as someone who has not only used your voice and have been using your voice, but you've become a role model for so many Americans. Did
Well,
you
I always tell people,
did you see this
I'm
coming?
listening. I'm sorry. Well, did I plan it this way? No. I wanted to be a rapper since I was 9. And but in between the path to becoming a rapper, I had these Forrest Gump like adventures. I was told by my fourth grade teacher, Miss Ely, you shouldn't be a rapper. You're too smart. You should be a pilot. So I went and learned how to fly planes at 15, 16 years old because public school offered a special program. They paid you to do it. I was like, I'll learn to do this. Me and Slim from 112, the lead singer from 112, were both in the same class. But I remember coming back telling Ms. Ely, like, I really love flying. I'm glad you challenged me to do that, but I still want to be a rapper. Around the same age, 15, 16, I started organizing with a couple groups, Black Teams for Advancement. I started organizing with Kids for a Change. And in my organizing, what I realized was that people who were suffering needed allies, and they all didn't often look like one another. We partnered with a few different organizations to make sure kids had a voice in my city. So I didn't understand that I was being prepped for leadership, and I was being trained by people like Reverend James Orange, who was a lieutenant to Dr. King, high-ranking member of the SCLC, was organized out of Selma with Dr. King, and things of that nature. I didn't understand the value of. I didn't devalue it, but I didn't understand the amount of wisdom that was being imparted on me. So what I found is that in times of my life that opportunities, not even opportunities, situations or in serendipity have called for me to use those things. And I've had to understand that I am a leader and I am a reluctant leader. And then I had to understand that usually those are the ones that people want because I don't have a vested interest in a lot of the things. I personally, my interest is in making sure community can connect and we can all do a little so we don't have to do a lot. So I understand myself now to be considered a leader and I accept it humbly. But with that said, I also let people know I'm always going to smoke marijuana and I like the Blue Flame Dance Club. And as long as you can tolerate me liking whiskey, weed, and occasional going to the strip clubs with my wife, I'll be glad to speak for you. But if you have a problem with that, I might not be the guy for you to follow. And I also am quick to tell people one day I'm going to fuck up and just allow me to say I'm sorry and let's get back on course because that's what human beings do. Human beings misunderstand, human beings overstate, human beings trip up. And the reason I realized I was a reluctant leader is because I didn't want to be a messiah or I didn't want to be someone held to a higher standard than people were willing to hold themselves. And perfect example is I see a lot of young men on the basketball court took a leadership position and said, stop, we're going to stop money so people will pay attention to agents of the state killing people. And people were first like, well, we don't want you to do it and we don't think it's, and then there were these other people that said, well, you went back to work. But I noticed that the people that were saying they went back to work would never not go to their jobs. What if everyone tomorrow said, we're not going to work until we fix this shit? Then we would see immediate change. But a lot of times, the burden that we place on leadership is we want them to do things that we aren't willing to do. And most leaders aren't Superman. They're more like Bruce Wayne. They're smart. They got some fancy gadgets, but they can get hurt and broken up pretty bad. So in accepting my leadership, I never let people misunderstand that I'm a human being. I have a wife, I have a family. That's my first priority. My immediate community and the wider community are definitely concerns of mine. But in my leadership, what I want to do is inspire all of us to lead where we can. I don't want to cut the whole block's grass. I want all of us to organize and make sure the grass gets cut. I want us to all do a little so no one has to do a lot. I want all of us to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize where we can. So we're led by morals and principles and not led by men, because that's truly all I'm here to remind people of, that we are moral beings and we are principled. And if we stick to those things, and if we let morals and principles lead us, then we won't need to seek the leadership of man in the sun.
Mm-hmm. And you gave such a beautiful, passionate speech that you said, you didn't want to be there, but you felt responsible.
I did.
And it was your duty, and a lot has happened since that speech.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes.
And I wish I could say things got better, but I don't.
They have not. They have not.
Yeah.
But it's like a fever. The issue of race in America, the issue of social justice, of redemptive justice, we've never dealt with these things. And until we deal with them, like the Truth and Reconciliation Committees in South Africa and I believe Rwanda, until we deal with the brutality that many of us face by agent of the state, till we deal with the fact that Black people are only 57 years free in this country. We were in an apartheid before then. They call it Jim Crow. Jim Crow sounds a lot nicer than apartheid, but we were in apartheid. When people talk about, I heard Mitch McConnell say, well, slavery was so long ago, it's almost irrelevant. Paraphrase. Mitch McConnell, slavery was 2 Mitch McConnells ago. I have a picture of my great-grandmother who taught me to sew a button on a collar, who was alive till I was 10, who literally gave me these lessons, who were given to her by her mother, who was an enslaved woman. So I am only my grandmother removed from slavery. My great-grandmother was the product of a woman that was enslaved in her lifetime, and she died a free woman. So there are things in this country that we're going to have to deal with from a truthful place. And I would encourage people to go to YouTube and Google Jane Elliott and watch her Blue and Brown Eye experiment, so we can start to unlearn some of the indoctrinated bigotry and racism that we hold. And I believe that racism is curable in terms of identifying and then taking out of the systems in this country over a 20-year process. If you look at a child that goes into kindergarten and goes all the way through 12th grade, looking at about 13 grade levels, you're looking at about roughly 18 years. You can, in an 18-year lifetime of a child, radically change. As a 8-year-old, I never thought I'd see a Black president. My daughter has never seen anything but, until Trump was her first Black president. She was alive during Obama. So in her mind, there are no ceilings. In my mind, there were ceilings. And I think that this country, it's time to take the ceilings off and be the best possible republic we can be. I think it's possible. And I think that republic only happens with a tapestry. It doesn't happen where you just throw everything in and make a goulash. You sew it together like a beautiful piece of fabric, like those quilts my great-grandmother stitched together. And it becomes a tapestry where each piece of fabric is important. It lends itself to the greater overall comfort of that quilt.
I absolutely agree. And, I was in the military, and you never saw, people from all different walks of life work together better, than in a military setting. And I have never understood why, this country can't be more like that setting that I experienced as a 18 to 25-year-old man. And it's disheartening that there is still so much, hate. I mean, there's not a better word for it than hate.
Yeah, but there won't be. There will always be. It's the fever is usually hottest when it's burning off the germs. You know what I mean? So what I've been amazed to see is that not only do you see the people who are protesting who look like me, you see their allies who don't look like us. You see Amish people out there. You see Asian people. You see Latino people out there. You see skateboarders out there protecting their skateboards in the same way cops protect one another with shields. It's just been an amazing sight. So no matter what happens after this country has been transformed through the power of allyship and unity. So my encouragement is for people not to forget that, and not to get so caught up in our particular cause or being right that we miss the moment of unification we're currently in.
Mm-hmm. Well, cheers to that, my friend. That's
absolutely.
Those are words we all should really be, living by, because we are one, we are one America. We're all
Absolutely.
Americans.
And it's a tapestry. You don't become American and lose, whatever brought you here, whether it was the transatlantic slave trade or your people coming through Ellis Island. That is still very much a part of your story. But we have to understand it is a tapestry. It is different fabrics that are sewn together to make this republic. And we have to appreciate, in much the same way that years late we appreciate Nearest, we
Mm-hmm.
must appreciate that bigger story and the culture that created Nearest. And part of that culture is painful. Part of it hurts. Part of it is shameful. You have to understand that a lot of the people you revere as heroes did heinous things, and you have to come to grips with that. And I think for the most part, my community has, I don't see any black people not wanting to carry a dollar in their pocket because George Washington owned slaves, but they acknowledge he owned slaves. And it's time for the greater community to start to acknowledge, not only the good, but some of the terrible, terrible and heinous mistakes and bads that have been done so that we can do like the six methods of Kingian nonviolence is the final step is reconciliation. And it's time we reconcile those things.
One of the things that I have learned is that Americans have often they were very quick to try and move on, and they don't necessarily want to deal with that pain. Like if you take a look at 9/11, I mean, within a week we had 0% car deals and mattresses because, quote, we had to get the economy moving. And I just feel like sometimes like we focus on the wrong things as a society. And this, like you're talking about that fever and everything, this just feels like one of those moments that it is a turning point. It
It is.
really does.
It is. And we don't know what's going to happen next, but it's going to be a hell of a ride.
Well, I know what you and I are doing. We're going to pour a little bit of Johnnie Walker now.
Yeah, I'm going to pour. I got another glass.
You told me that this is your favorite or one of your favorites.
Yeah, this is a favorite. It's one of my favorites. These are my two favorite whiskeys currently.
Okay.
Johnnie Walker on in years. As a long term, this is my Tom Brady of whiskeys. It's
Johnnie Walker Blues, your Tom Brady of whiskey?
It's my Tom Brady of whiskeys because it's always there for me. It's always dependable. We've won more than we've lost together. And no matter what you think of it, it brings it home.
Now, I'm assuming you're a Falcons fan. I mean, is that?
I am. No. I'm a Falcons fan. I think the Falcons are wonderful. They've also broken my heart a lot since 1983. So I followed a guy named Brett Favre out of Atlanta up to Green Bay. So I actually have cheered Green Bay over 20 years. And Brady, though, is just amazing. So you can't deny Brady and Belichick were amazing. I don't know what's going to happen in Tampa, but he and Belichick set a standard.
I think Brady's going to have an incredible year. He's got a lot of talent, but I'm with you on Brett Favre. I was an enormous Brett Favre fan.
That's my man.
Watching him play football was like you didn't know if he was going to throw a pick or hit the referee in the head or throw an amazing touchdown,
Yeah, you didn't know if he was going to survive or die some games.
Yeah. That's right. Cheers.
Cheers.
So what are as we sip on what is, widely considered one of the best whiskeys on the market that you can get. It's behind a glass case, of course, but you can find it in a lot of stores, and that's the Johnnie Walker Blue Label. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, the rap culture and lyrics and how cognac and champagne are used a lot in rap music, but bourbon and whiskey are not.
Yeah, I think that there's some correlation to France and black artists. You know what I mean? So whether it was black artists in the Harlem Renaissance or the French, but cognac and champagnes are both French. We know, but Hennessy apparently Asians and black folks drink more of that stuff than anybody. So Koreans and black people drink a lot of Hennessy. But my Korean friend Jin Won turned me on to Blue Label. He gave it to me as a gift. Then I got booked to do a Korean club early in my career, and I saw they would find booths. It was just like excerpt rap video, excerpt the black guys, just insert the Korean guys and girls. And instead of champagne and cognacs, what I saw was whiskey, all about whiskey. And I did see Hennessy's too, but I saw a bunch of Johnny Walker. And I don't know why whiskey isn't bigger in rap culture, but I know I'm a drinker of whiskey. And the question becomes, does whiskey want to be in rap culture? Because I can tell you the other people reach out. Once they realize rap people like drinking tequila, you got all type of tequila from, tequila this, tequila that, agave tequila. So if whiskey ever made a strong pivot into hip hop, especially Southern hip hop, I think Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, I think that there would be a big movement toward it. But you got to court the girl you want. So if you want hip hop, I think you got to do some courting, because I know a lot of people that drink bourbons, and that for the older guys in the neighborhood that drink Jamesons and Jack and Johnny Walkers, the Reds and the Blacks. It sells a lot in the clubs in terms of the strip clubs in Atlanta. But I think that there has to be a public embracing of hip hop by whiskey.
Okay.
So I can't say whiskey's not getting drank, because I can get Johnny Walker in the Blue Flame. The question becomes, which companies are going to say, you know what, I think Killer Mike's the next Jay-Z. Let's give him a whiskey.
Hey, if you want a whiskey, we can make that happen. I know a guy.
I definitely when I get in the business would love to get in the whiskey business. I would love a premium whiskey with hip hop on it. So
yeah,
absolutely.
There's a few out there, but there's not a like you mentioned, like there's not a big concentration of the marketing for reaching hip hop. But I do think that is changing. But
Uncle Nearest is doing a great job.
Yeah, they really are. But typically the bourbon and the whiskey, it's just country music, rock and roll.
Yeah.
And
it's just about the right rapper saying this bottle cost me $200.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. That's what you got to know. This is behind the glass for a reason. Man, I was with Freddie Figures from Figures Wireless, which he's the only black wireless company. He's an inventor. He's a brilliant brother. But we were in the Florida Panhandle last week, the week before last, and we got a bottle of Blue Label. It didn't survive the night. All of us were drunk and singing by the end of the night. So.
I love it.
There's definitely a place for it.
Well, Blue Label's very approachable. It's complex, and
yes.
If there was one that was going to break through and replace Hennessy, I do think that this is one that could do it. Unfortunately, not everybody could get their hands on this one, but but from a lyrics perspective, from a lyrics perspective, bourbon doesn't roll off the tongue like Hennessy, for a song. Or could you?
Oh no, that's not true. Now you could be swerving in the bourbon, fresh off a cup of bourbon.
Oh,
you know what I mean? You could
right.
be lurking after church with the homies sipping bourbon. You know what I mean? The girls could be curving; they just want to ice and bourbon. It's a lot of slanging and serving, man. Afterwards, I sell bourbon. There's a lot of ways to get it in there. It ain't hard if you're a wordsmith.
I feel like magic just happened. That was great. So, one of the things that it's also unique about rap is there's a lot of collaborations, and you love collaborating with rockers, from Rage, and you're really into. You've talked about how you're into like heavy metal and heavy rock. Is there a heavy rock band that you think would be cool to collaborate with on a song that you've always wanted to collaborate with?
I would love for Led Zeppelin and Run the Jewels. I would love for I'd love to be able to sample any of that first Sabbath album. Lars came from Metallica, came to one of our shows. I was nervous as shit. I love the Chopper Metallica sample. Shouts out to Jared from Papa Roach. He reached out to me. I'm trying to get something cool done for them. I appreciate that. Rage, of course, we're going to tour with, and Zach De La Rocha's jumped on 3 consecutive albums now. So, I'm just a fan. MIA I don't know if she's considered rock, but MIA is somebody who I just think is incredible. We love to rock with. 9 Inch Nails, of course, I would love. Marilyn Manson, of the Beautiful People era. That the beats were amazing. I would love to get a 16 in with him. Um, who else? Who else is dope? Um, that's it for now. Oh man. Oh, now get the fuck out of here. Allman Brothers. I'm a Southerner, so I'd love to be able to chop up like Midnight Rider or Whipping Post. I
Oh.
love and Leonard Skinner. I can remember being in I was with Yellow Wolf, and it was KP's birthday party or Yellow Wolf's party. It was KP. KP was an A&R. That A&R, he discovered Yellow Wolf and A&R for me. Well, it was his birthday or Yellow Wolf's birthday, but we were in New York, and D Nice I think was DJing, and the club owners in New York. Sometimes a hip hop club, but the club owners aren't hip hop, so they're just being assholes. Like every time we get a little crunk, like it just there's whiskey pouring because these are a bunch of Southerners, so there is whiskey pouring at this party. So we're getting hyped. This shit's turning into it's turning into Alabama and Georgia. It's turning into just the funnest shit ever. And they attempt to quiet the party by telling D Nice to play. It was I think D Dip, but they told another DJ just play something to calm him. And this DJ realized in this moment he had made the mistake of his life because he played Sweet Home Alabama in a room full of Southerners who were drunk as shit off whiskey. And I don't give a fuck if you were black or white. If you were from the South at that moment, all you heard was Sweet Home Alabama, the beautiful sounds of Leonard Skinner, and the Dukes of Hazzard was playing through your goddamn line. And we damn near tore that section up. We had so much fun. So
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
That's a great whiskey story. Absolutely.
So you're also starting to see like country and hip hop kind of like merge a little bit. Could you ever see yourself doing a collab with a country singer?
First of all, shouts out to my homeboy Wheeler Walker. He's dope. So Wheeler, he's dope as fuck. Who knows what'll happen? But I want to say that I didn't realize so many hip hop producers and writers were producing and writing country music, because whenever you're talking about country or blues or even rock and hip hop, you're talking about worker class music, blue collar music. So the same way a country singer is going to sing about his souped up Ford F-150 and his love of his girl and hanging out at the lake and drinking Budweiser, the rap guys are going to talk about his souped up 74 Caprice sitting up high, the girls he loves and drinking hopefully whiskey, but probably talking about champagne. So I find that we have a lot more in common than we don't. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
Just right now is just all these musicians can't get out and tour. They can't connect with their fans because of COVID. And this is a very difficult time for people who haven't crossed over on that other side of music. Do you have any words of advice for young musicians coming up right now who are kind of can't play in front of audiences?
People are bored and watching their phones, so give them all the content you can. If it's you singing fresh out the shower, and if it's going to make people feel good, give it to them right now. Give them the content for free and sell a T-shirt or two or something to keep you going. Because artists need to make money, so people need to understand that too. In order for artists to remain the independent, free, loving people that are giving you this content for free, show them some love. Buy a T-shirt, donate, send $5 to the Cash App or something. However the means is to get paid these days. But artists create content. People are locked in. People are feeling helpless and hopeless. And a lot of times your art is the only thing that gives people that hope to push through the day. So be hopeful, be resilient in your art, and get it out to people as best you can, whether it be your Convos app or your IG app or whatever the new or next app is. Don't go to Twitter and Facebook. It's just moms over there arguing about presidency right now. Wait till after November. Just fucking moms, bro. Just mad. You know what I mean?
There is a lot of arguing going on Twitter and Facebook.
Oh, bro, that's just arguing over bullshit. You're like, God damn, I used to get like hot girls on Twitter doing crazy shit. That is not exist. No, now it's just moms. Just like,
and you can't if you get in the middle of it, you can't win.
You can't. Don't even get in the middle. I learned my lesson. Just stay out of it. Just watch it. It's a TV show.
we are in the middle of a reality show of sorts, but we will get through this. This will pass.
We will. That's one thing. I honestly, I'm a believer in this country. and not because of the republic itself, but the people who make it up. And I don't mean the politicians and the leadership. We found a way more times than not to figure it out. And instead of just coexisting this time, we should find a way to really progress and to tighten up the tapestry that we are.
Well, on that note, my friend, I'll just grab. Did you have another whiskey that you wanted to taste, or because I thought you just wanted to taste the two? But if you have another,
I have the two. I may have a. Well, no, I'm not gonna get drunk. I got shit to do. But I'll do this though. I'll sip some shine.
Oh,
this is for my grandpa.
He's busting out the shine for his grandpa. And you know what?
This is for my grandpa Willie.
I got a little shine here too.
All right, so we'll do it. Let's do it. I'm literally gonna pour just a shot.
I'm gonna keep mine in the jar because that's all I got left. But
that's what you got.
That's all I got here.
We'll do it out the jar then. Let's get it. Love and respect.
Love and respect, my friend.
Woo.
Oh yeah, that's definitely not as good as the Walker. Ooh.
How do they drink that shit? Well, hey, like my grandpa told me though, you're drinking to get drunk.
Yeah. But listen, Mike, you can't blame me for later if you get in trouble with the wife. So, but
yeah, so I got a day off. I'm pretty good today.
Right on. Well, Mike, it's such a pleasure. I look forward to hanging out with you, whether in Atlanta or Louisville.
We'll get it done.
And toasting like this. And I'll close with the question: are you still collecting Hot Wheels?
I am. And shouts out to Brian from over there. I think they're about to have me do something cool one day. So, yes, I still collect Hot Wheels. Yes, my wife is still very angry about that. Yes, my mother-in-law tells her, as long as he's collecting real cars and toy cars and not women, leave him alone. Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to David Johnson, who was my Morehouse brother my freshman year at Morehouse, and he's from Louisville. And he's just a great guy. He has a fencing, I think, and company out there. But David's a great human being. I love him to death. I haven't talked to him in a while, but it'd be wrong not to shout the homie out in his hometown.
Oh, he's a good. I've met David before. He's a good dude.
He really. His father was. I remember when I met him. His father's company had been in Fortune magazine. It's like the largest minority trucking division that Ford was doing business with him. I just kept saying his name, like David Johnson. David. I was like, you're fucking rich. And I remember him telling me that. He was like, shut up. I was like, your dad's in Fortune. And Black Enterprise or Fortune. But we've been friends since. David is a very good man. And I really respect him and his dad a lot.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thanks for coming on. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Chatting.
Send me your T-shirt sizes. Let me send you some shit too.
Absolutely. Well, I'm afraid after more the days that COVID goes on, the bigger that T-shirt size is going to get. So.
Well, how about I'll just send you some of my stuff too then. But just send me. Make sure my publicist gets that, and let's get you some stuff. And stay safe. And I hope to see you in Louisville soon.
Cheers, my friend. Be safe.
Cheers. Love and respect. Peace.
Cheers.